Hey guys, it's Rob here and welcome back to another video. In this video, we are going to talk about the February 2025 Nintendo Direct. Part of it's going to be the lack of Direct yet, some past things that have been happening, and some new things that have been happening that a Nintendo insider is saying, which is pretty interesting considering there's a Pokemon Presents next week. I'll be giving my thoughts on that and what I think Nintendo could do if we don't end up getting a February Nintendo Direct. And of course, if you end up enjoying this video, leaving a like helps the video reach more viewers when you do that, and subscribe for more Nintendo Switch news, and especially when we do finally get a Nintendo Direct, other than the April Nintendo Direct, of course. So Nintendo right now is in a really fantastic place, I think, when it comes to just how well they're doing with the Nintendo Switch. They've had a fantastic run with the original Nintendo Switch and a lot of great games that have sold quite a lot. We have Mario Odyssey, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, and of course there's also Breath of the Wild. There's a bunch of cool third-party games on the Nintendo Switch with the Doom games and Witcher 3. And overall, the Switch has been fantastic, and they've led up to the Nintendo Switch 2 reveal with that April Nintendo Direct also announced. So far these past 8 years have been really fantastic, and one thing that a lot of people were wondering is there going to be a Nintendo Direct before that April Nintendo Direct? If you notice, Nintendo likes to keep on giving people things to look forward to every couple months. These are usually in the form of Nintendo Directs or mini Nintendo Directs. Sometimes they have multiple times a month as well. And overall, there's usually a concurrent pace of Nintendo Switch news and Nintendo Direct announcements. This ensures that there's always something to look forward to on the Nintendo Switch, and the Nintendo Switch install base is always growing because there's always new things to look forward to, and that attracts new customers. So when the April Nintendo Direct was announced, people assumed, okay, we usually do get a February Nintendo Direct almost every single year. It would stand to reason that we're gonna end up getting a February Nintendo Direct even if that April Nintendo Direct happened, because that has happened before. We have had multiple Directs in the same month. So when Nintendo insider PH Brazil came out and said that there was gonna be a February Nintendo Direct, a lot of people got excited, and then he pretty much doubled down on that multiple times. I think it was about 3 times. This was his last update. As promised, here's an update. Just talked overnight with my source asking for reassurance, not unlike how this thread does, and they still insist some form of Direct is happening this month. Now that is the key word in this, some form of Direct. That's pretty interesting, because Nintendo has had some history of showing things on Twitter, like a Twitter Nintendo Direct, and stealth dropping a lot of different things. If you guys remember, Paper Mario and the Origami King was stealth dropped during the pandemic. It wasn't even in a Nintendo Direct, and before that we didn't really have another Paper Mario announced. I think since the 3DS, I believe. But anyways, continuing. This is the same person who clued me in on the August presentation last year, but back in August, at this point relative to when the event was supposed to take place, I'd already heard about it from someone else, which isn't the case now. Now keep in mind, when it comes to other Nintendo insiders like Nate the Hate hearing about a February Nintendo Direct, he has not heard anything, according to him. Now, just a month ago around, I think it was January 16th, he said that there was gonna be a February Nintendo Direct. Now, my personal thoughts on that when they were talking about that, especially there was an article from VGC that was talking about it, I have a feeling that was just a guess from Nate the Hate, a prediction. I don't think that was him saying that there was gonna be a February Nintendo Direct, because why say there's gonna be a February Nintendo Direct and then later come out and say, yeah, I haven't heard anything? It's really weird, especially after getting that Nintendo Switch leak right about the Nintendo Switch 2 reveal trailer. If you have access to that information, you would think that Nate the Hate would have access to also the February Nintendo Direct information. But PH Brazil is saying that there's gonna be a February Nintendo Direct, and now another insider is also saying something like that as well. I'm sure you guys remember Samus Hunter, a Nintendo insider who has leaked a lot of stuff in the past, but their track record is pretty spotty. They've come under fire for a couple things here and there throughout the years, so take what they're saying with a grain of salt. So over on her Twitter, she was asked this by a follower: is the Nintendo Direct still happening now or not? And then she replied with, yes, it's still happening. It will be released before the Pokemon Presents. Now that is very, very, very interesting and something pretty bold to say, right? And she's even saying what's gonna be in this Nintendo Direct as well. Now, if this is all true, a lot of this has already been rumored before, but I'm still gonna read off of it. So she says Prime 2 and maybe 3 remaster. Key on that maybe, it's actually pretty interesting. I do have an idea why she said maybe Metroid Prime 3 was gonna be remastered. Kirby Planet Robobot Deluxe and Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition and other third-party games will all get news/announced and one release next week, and then Pokemon ZA to conclude the final Switch 1 marketing push. Now, as for those who were hoping that Silksong would be at that Nintendo Direct next week, if it ends up happening, again, according to Samus Hunter, that's gonna be happening. This is what she said about that. Unfortunately, I don't think Silksong will be present happen, and I'm really sorry to have given that info. I was worried it was early to talk about, but I posted it anyways, and I will take the L if this doesn't happen during the winter season. I think Switch 2 presentation is a better spot. Now, those two were on February 21st, just yesterday at the time of this recording. It's the 22nd right now. Now, The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker HD is another thing that a lot of people are wondering when Nintendo's going to bring that to the Nintendo Switch. They brought a ton of things, 3DS games, Wii U ports. There's a whole bunch of different ports on the Nintendo Switch, and they're constantly bringing them back. So obviously, eventually, I think we will get The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. The only way that they wouldn't do that is if they were trying to do some kind of remake or remaster or something with that, because those are just easy money. Now, unfortunately, there is some bad news for this. She says she hasn't heard anything on The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker HD. So for anyone hoping that if this Nintendo Direct does end up happening, well, that's some bad news for you. I guess bad news for me too, because I would just love Wind Waker HD on the Nintendo Switch. Now, as to what kind of Nintendo Direct this is, she was asked if it's going to be a Direct Mini, and she says yes. It does seem to be the case, not 100%, but given it will likely be dropped on YouTube without much fanfare and presence of Nintendo contents and spotlights, it does not seem to be a partner showcase, so the standard mini Nintendo Direct. And that's actually kind of interesting, because Pokemon Presents is next week, and a lot of people are thinking, well, Nintendo wouldn't be putting the Nintendo Direct next to the Pokemon Presents, especially before, but who knows, maybe we're wrong. Like me, my thoughts on that is that I don't think they would do that. I don't think they're gonna put a Pokemon Presents and a Nintendo Direct Mini in the same week. Like, why wouldn't you just hold it this week? Now, let's just say this information all ends up coming true from Samus Hunter. There are a couple things that I want to pick out, especially that Metroid Prime 3 Remastered. It kind of sounded like she wasn't too sure if it was going to be there, and my thinking is the reason why she wasn't too sure if this ends up being true. Again, this is under the assumption that this does end up coming true. I would guess that Nintendo will probably save that for a later date, maybe sometime closer to Metroid Prime 4's release date. Again, that's going to be a 2025 game, so maybe they're going to be waiting on that. As for the Nintendo Direct stuff itself, though, why Nintendo would be putting two Nintendo Directs very close to each other, there is one theory I do have. So in the beginning of this video, we did talk about how Nintendo likes to market the Nintendo Switch and their brand. They like a concurrent space of news. Well, if they do have two Nintendo Directs, this not only fills out a lot of time in between now and the release date for the Nintendo Switch 2, but you also have to remember that reveal for the Nintendo Switch 2 is, I think, 2 months before the June Nintendo Direct. So if they end up announcing some games at this February Nintendo Direct, that could carry them until June for that June Nintendo Direct, and then carry them for the next couple months after that. You add in the Pokemon games, and then the release of the Nintendo Switch 2, and then I'm sure a bunch of third-party developers are going to come out and talk about their games during that June Nintendo Direct, and that will also get a lot of people excited. You're starting to see that Nintendo is setting up months and months and months of marketing for the Nintendo Switch and giving people things to look forward to, not only on the future Nintendo Switch, but the current Nintendo Switch as well, leading them up to that release of the Nintendo Switch and continuing on with that. Overall, what I'm trying to say is all of this is to get ready to set the Switch 2 up for a huge success in the beginning and continue down that path, because remember, after the Nintendo Switch 2, Nintendo still has to be on point. In my opinion, once the Switch 2 comes out, they need to be even more on point than they have in the past 8 years, because most people do have a Nintendo Switch. They gotta give them reasons to continue to come back for the software. While I do think the Nintendo Switch 2 is gonna sell really well, I don't think it's gonna sell as well as the original Nintendo Switch. So making sure that software is being sold is probably gonna be a very, very good idea for Nintendo. And what helps with that is marketing, making sure your players have something to look forward to constantly, which a February Nintendo Direct, the June Nintendo Direct, Pokemon Presents, a mini Nintendo Direct, whatever you want to call whichever one it's going to be, would really help with that leading up to the release of the Switch 2. Now, as far as how Nintendo is going to drop it, if Nintendo does just stealth drop that Nintendo Direct and say, hey, video is up on our channel, a whole bunch of games that you can look forward to in the next 6 months, honestly, that would be pretty great. Now, when we see that drop, since it's the 27th, that's when we're going to see that Pokemon Presents, it would have to drop sometime before that. So we'll see on that. But overall, very interesting stuff. There's still a little sliver of hope for that February Nintendo Direct. But in my opinion, like I said before, I don't think it's going to happen. I think this is fake, in my opinion. I mean, I've been wrong before, but that's just my opinion. I think Nintendo's going to save everything for that April Nintendo Direct. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about it in the comment section below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.